So I just finished reading The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. This book, like all books, may potentially change your life. But this book in particular, because it's a plan for saving money while you work and investing it in a very simple way. And J.L. Collins makes this very simple. Now basically, here's a little page through. We'll take a look at the table of contents. It seems like, when you look at the table of contents, it seems very complex, but it's not actually. If you look at 2 pages in the front and I think 3 or 4 pages in the back, it pretty much sums up the entire book. And his premise is very simple. He just goes into detail about it in order to explain it to people further who may have some doubts about his premise. His premise basically follows the Jack Bogle theory. Jack Bogle was a guy who in 1974 basically started the first index fund. And an index fund is explained in here as well. What's an index fund? Index funds are basically a way of picking stocks that will mirror how the market moves. That is to say they'll some index funds, the early index funds would follow the indexes, like the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So basically, they would just own all of the stocks in that average. Originally, I think there were 12 way back when, and as a result, you could watch that indicator and you could see how your portfolio was advancing or declining. The S&P 500, obviously, 500 meaning 500 companies, so it was a broader base, so the market moved as a broader indicator. Well, since the market almost always moves up over time, the longer you go out, the more it moves up, and he talks about that, and he has graphs in here to illustrate that point. You want something that's going to own all of the stocks in the market at the same time, and there is a fund like that, and it's the VTSAX fund by Vanguard, and Vanguard was started by our guy Jack Bogle. Here's that graph I was telling you about how the market moves up over time. So this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average from 1900 to 2012. You can see the trend is always up, even though there are these big dips and valleys over short periods of time. So J.L. Collins' premise is that stocks over time will keep pace with inflation, and therefore your money won't lose value. It's better than putting your money in cash, keeping it in cash, stuffing your mattress or whatnot. You will earn 8 to 11% per year over time, is what he basically says. So that's a pretty good rate, because you're going to double your money basically in about 6 years. If you start investing, he has different scenarios where he'll say if you start investing when you're 25 and blah 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 blah. A couple things in here that I really like, though, is here's the 2 pages that I was telling you about. So basically, this is the premise of his financial strategy. Spend less than you earn. Well, that's a great strategy, no matter who you are. You're never going to get anywhere if you keep accumulating debt. So spend less than you earn, invest the surplus, and avoid debt. This is the big thing, okay? Taking the money that you don't spend and investing it in the market. That's his advice. Now, of course, this is all his advice. Don't do anything based on my advice. This is purely for educational purposes. But this is what I'm just telling you what's in this book. Do simply this, and you'll wind up rich, not just in money. Carrying debt is as appealing as being covered with leeches and has the same effect. If your lifestyle matches your income, you're no more than a gilded slave. That's an interesting way to look at things. Avoid fiscally irresponsible people and never marry one or give him or her access to your money. Avoid investment advisors. This is interesting. He goes on this tirade about investment advisors in one chapter. It's very interesting. You own the things you own, and in turn, they own you. This has given me some pause. I've been trying to divest myself of the many objects that I've acquired for so many years, just little stuff, and yeah, it's become a burden. So that's great advice. A lot of people have been talking about cleaning out their material possessions. Interesting. Money can buy you many things, but none more valuable than your freedom. And he talks about money as in, he calls it, and I'll only say this once, FU money. I don't like those derogatory terms. I will call it freedom money. But basically, his first step toward financial freedom for you is that you need to have enough money on hand that you can, at any time, walk away from your job and decide to do something else with impunity. So you should have a nest egg of about 6 months to start. 6 months worth of being able to pay your bills. And if you do what he says, and he says that you should save and invest 50% of your income, you can do that in a very short period of time. In fact, 6 months. So then you have the capacity to walk away from situations that you don't want to be in necessarily. Take time to find other employment where you think that you may, they better fit either your goals or your attitude towards life. Life choice is not always about money, but you should always be clear about the financial impact that your choices make. Always good. And his big premise here, sound investing is not complicated. He outlines that in this short book. Save a portion of every dollar you earn or otherwise comes your way. He's talking about gifts. He's talking about Christmas gifts. He's talking about, lucky money. Maybe you win a card game or something. The greater the percentage of your income you save and the sooner and invest, the sooner you'll have freedom money. Try saving and investing 50% of your income. With no debt, this is perfectly doable. So what he's saying is basically when you're in your 20s, don't go buy a new car. Don't buy a house right away. These things will drain your ability to save. Those things you can drive used cars. You can rent for a while. The beauty of a high savings rate is twofold. You'll learn to live on less, and you'll have more to invest. So his theory, his premise also is that you will know how to live frugally, and as a result, you won't need as much in order to retire, and you can retire sooner. The stock market is a powerful wealth-building tool, and you should be investing in it, but realize the market and the value of your shares will sometimes drop dramatically. This is absolutely normal and to be expected. When it happens, ignore the drops and buy more shares. This is how you console yourself when the market fluctuates. When your shares go down, if you're investing in an individual stock or you're investing in the entire market as this recommends, if you really believe in that investment, you buy more shares. That's how you console yourself. It's a hard attitude to cultivate because in the short term, everybody else will be saying, oh, here you go. This will be much, much harder than you think. People all around you will panic. The news media will be screaming, sell, sell, sell. Nobody can predict when these drops will happen, even though the media is filled with those who claim they can. They're delusional. They're trying to sell you something or both. Ignore them. When you can live on 4% of your investments per year, you are fiscally independent. So basically 4% per year, if you live on $20,000 a year, which is pretty frugal, but doable, at least where I live, you need $500,000 in your investments. Over some period of time, doesn't seem like a terribly unreasonable amount of money to be able to save. So, especially with his techniques. So, his technique basically is you buy this one fund that basically doubles your money every 6 years through investing in the entire stock market. And that's the basic premise of this book. The rest of the book is basically information to support that premise. He does have some actuary or some tables in the back here that describe, like, here, let me see if I can find them. What the percentages are of your of your portfolio surviving 4% withdrawal rate over time based on whether it's 100% stocks and over time, and you can see almost all these are 100% survivable. So the magic 4% withdrawal rate comes up, and that's something that was proposed in other studies, and he talks about those studies. The problem is it's not just saving and investing, it's saving and investing in a fund which has very low fees. That's the main thing, because the mistakes that I personally have made over the years, I've been saving my money and investing, but the problem is I have been getting killed with fees, and they seem like small numbers because they're single-digit numbers, but they're really, over time, they erode your investment. This book has really changed my attitude towards that. Now I'm looking towards these ultra-low fee investments, i.e. index funds that are not actively managed because they basically just follow the market. This is not a new philosophy. This is just very simply explained, and the questions are answered. I'm not telling you to act upon this. I'm telling you this is a very great tool. This gentleman has done some research and put some research in here for your edification. Whether or not you follow that is entirely up to you. What I can say for myself is that I have had this idea and this strategy for a long time and not implemented it, and now I am. And that's just me personally. It's gotten me off my butt in order to allow me to think more clearly about my path to financial freedom. And if it does help you, then great, I'm glad. I hope this video and this book will help you. If you want to help me, you can subscribe to this channel, and that will certainly help me. Maybe even I can use this channel as a revenue stream and have some financial freedom. The only thing you have to do is click on subscribe to help me. It doesn't cost you any money. And if you like the video, please like it. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. As you can see, according to his idea of saving every dollar, I got the book out of the library. So it's a no-cost educational situation for you. And I hope that this small introduction helps you to get onto a path for financial freedom. Thanks for listening, folks. I hope you have a great day. And yeah, I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks again.